Good morning. We are in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and we're on Leyden Street. And Leyden is the first street of the homes of the Pilgrims when they first came over in 1620. And up this street you're going to find, of course, not their original homes, but certainly the locations where their homes were. These houses on our left, they were built in the 1800s. They came a little bit later. And you notice here, this gentleman is working on the common house. The common house was the first building closest to the harbor of the Pilgrims. It's dated 1623. And as we continue up, we'll find a couple more homes. Now this home here, this is Peter Brown's home. This is the first house that was built above the commons, so this would be called House 1 if you want to call it a house. Now Peter Brown was really not a very smart guy. He was one of the first settlers, of course, in 1621. But you know, he hung out with a guy named John Goodman. And one day they were out chopping wood and their dog ran away, so they chased the dog and they got lost in the woods and almost froze to death. They got frostbite, they're starving, they didn't know what to do, and they eventually found their way back to the Plymouth colony. John Goodman, by the way, had horrible frostbite, and he actually died that first winter. This is Peter Brown's house. So the second house up to the Pilgrims was Samuel Fuller's house, right here. And the third house up was the house of John Howland. And John Howland is our 11 times great-grandfather, and he lived right about here. He was the indentured servant to John Carver. And John Carver is the author of the Mayflower Compact. Now when John Carver died in April of 1621, John Howland became a free man. He almost inherited all of John Carver's wealth because John Carver had no heirs. He became relieved of his indentured servitude and went on to live a very fruitful life in Plymouth. He married Elizabeth Tilley, who was a Plymouth passenger. He went on to have 8 children and 108 grandchildren. They lived here till about 1638, till they moved up to Rocky Nook, that we'll be visiting later in our tour. And up the street, this is Leyden Street here, and this street is Main Street, and Main Street crosses over to the old burial hill. So Governor Carver lived right here in the corner where the church is, and Richard Warren, our other 12 times great-grandfather, he lived about 3 houses up, the last house where that monument stands right now. We'll head up there today.